You may recall that last summer we went to Durham University's Binchester excavation. Dr. David Petts was eager to show us round, and the undoubted star of the show was this sandstone head, carved in both a Roman and a local style. The head made international news. But today this is old news, and around a year later the excavation has moved on.
One of the lads was riding with the replica of the Binchester helmet.
This season has been a tremendous success, with news outlets recognising the site as the so-called Pompeii of the North. This is arguably because of the height of freestanding buildings found on site. But now let's head over to David Petts to tell us more.
Hello, I'm David Petts from Durham University, and we're here out at the bathhouse at Roman Binchester. Probably last time people saw the bathhouse, it was filled more or less to roof height with lots and lots of late Roman rubbish. And in the last season, the team working here have removed all that rubbish, and we've now cleared out this entire room. So we've now got a large room with walls standing up to 7 feet high, in places even higher. And we've essentially got the insides of a Roman building. We've got block doorways, we've got plasterwork, we've got multiple layers of plasterwork, we've got lots of phasing and clearly visited building which lived and lasted a long time before finally falling out of use towards the end of the Roman period. Originally, just in front of me here, there was a small plunge bath which would have held cold water, so when the Romans had been through their increasingly warm, sweaty bathrooms, they'd have leapt into the cold bath and shivered it all off. And then at some point, this cold bath was knocked away and this room was turned into a changing room, and we've got stone benches all the way around which were added at that point, and they would be where the people had popped their togs before going through into the bathroom. And at that point, some new walls were built and some doors were blocked. And also in the corner, just behind me there, we excavated at the very end of last year's season 2 Roman altars. One of them was dedicated to the goddess Fortuna by a retired military architect. And that's a reminder that these bathhouses weren't just about getting clean and having exercise, they were social centres. They're like Roman leisure centres. So people come here, meet together, get together and talk, and also people would carry out little religious activities as well. So this would have been the kind of social hub of Roman Binchester. And after all that, once you get into the 4th century, particularly towards the end of the 4th century, the bathhouse seems to have fallen out of use, and people started dumping tons and tons and tons of late Roman rubbish in here, filling it up all the way up to the top of our walls. And that rubbish was filled with animal bone, lots of cattle bone, other animals as well, remains from the inside of hearths, pottery, all sorts of bits and pieces and objects, and that's really why these structures survived so well, because the interior was filled up to the roof with Roman rubbish, while at the same time the street levels at the outside were rising as well, and the combination of the fill of the interior and the rising street levels kind of encased our Roman building, keeping it standing upright, so it didn't just fall down over time due to old age. It was nicely sealed within this kind of huge dump of Roman ordure which kept the whole thing up, and has resulted in one of the best preserved Roman bathhouses in Roman Britain.
35. Yeah.
Here we are in our Barracks Trench at Roman Binchester. So this trench lies inside the fort, and behind me we've got part of our Roman barrack, and over here we've got the remains of the Roman latrine and bits of the Roman ramparts. Since last year, most of our focus has been on the barrack itself, and essentially this is a 2-phase structure. The main structure, which we can see the remains of here, is part of a later barrack which ran north-south up and down our trench, but beneath that we've got the remains of an earlier barrack which was twice as wide, and on one side, literally running beneath my feet, we had a series of rooms where the stables were, and on the other side, running along that side, we had a whole series of rooms where the Roman soldiers would have been accommodated. But at some point, probably in the 4th century, this whole building contracts, the area which I'm standing on gets turned into a paved courtyard area, and instead you have a single row of structures running along that side. And in some places the walls may even have been wood or different types of stone construction build. And the area behind me right now, where you can see a really nicely built stone wall, this is probably the quarters of a cavalry officer. So he would have been in there, he'd have been in charge of all the soldiers in the building. He had a separate little area for his horse. So the horses are all under the same roof as the soldiers themselves, and it would have been the nicest part of the building. And then finally, some point, probably in the late 4th or early 5th century, the whole area goes out of use. And it's not really until we start uncovering it that much happens here. The only exception is behind us, over behind the camera, is there's an area of medieval activity, a 12th century building, which we excavated a couple of years ago and has now entirely disappeared.
It was a genuine pleasure seeing how the site had developed since last year. The latrines, for example, now show a pragmatic elegance in their construction. And in the freshly exposed corners of the site, gems such as Roman bread ovens have been unearthed. However, there is one more find which this season has yielded, which was not on site. Earlier in the season, a beautiful silver ring with a so-called intaglio inscription was found. The intaglio, or carved gem, shows 2 fish hanging from an anchor and represents evidence of 3rd century Christianity in Britain. This is an incredibly early Christian object, and even predates the reign of Constantine, which began in York in AD 306. Indeed, this is only the 2nd example of such a ring found in Britain, the other being in York. To find out more about Binchester Roman Fort, check out these links, also available in the video information below.